That's enough of that. Those are the characters, and we are playing Hakuoki Kyoto Inns. This is a dating sim. Originally, there were 6 characters and it was 1 game. They have made Hakuoki Kyoto Winds and Edo Blossoms because there are 12 characters. They needed to make 2 games instead of 1 so that the full story is included. I hope you guys get it. You start the second game where the first game kind of ends, if that makes sense. Okay, new game. Our name is Yukimura Chizuru. This is a work of fiction. None of this shit is real. It's never been real. I want to skip the prologue, but we absolutely can't for the story. The setting is 1864 Japan in December. Guess where we are. Oh crap. Already. Starting up. What? Okay, I don't know the controls, so... History... Yeah! Sorry. So this is Kyoto. It was awfully impressive, no denying it. Even simple hellos between people passing in the street seemed warm and friendly. They nodded and smiled to one another as a family and not strangers about on errands. Still, there was something else as well. Something making the city feel strangely cold. Almost as though there was a great invisible wall shutting out anyone wandering from the country. I'm not sure if I belong here. By the way, I don't think she's saying that out loud. Even though it has quotes. No, that's all in my head. To be fair, like, do we want asterisks in this situation? Asterisks are kind of cringe now. I walked quite some distance to reach Kyoto, and both my mind and body were exhausted. Do I sound nasally? Even so, tiredness was no reason to meander and feel sorry for myself. I couldn't afford to. Excuse me, shitsureshimasu. I hesitantly stopped a passerby. Sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry, I seem to be a bit lost. Could you? Oh, shoot. Okay, sorry, I moved my microphone on accident. Everything's tangled together like Lane. Serial experiments. Anyway, what am I supposed to do now? I was lost again, but in a different sort of way. I sighed and looked up at the darkening sky. The sun was beginning to set. People I'd spoken to showed me no unkindness and given me directions I needed, but was now really the best time to leave the city? Learning a person I'd hoped to visit had left town caused hope to seep from my crumbling resolve. The only person besides father I could rely on in the city who I could rely on, Dr. Matsumoto. Okay, this is him. Yukimura Kodo, a Dutch-educated doctor in service to the shogunate and the father of the protagonist. He has been missing since shortly after his arrival in Kyoto. How do I do the next thing? Okay, why can't I go to the next one? Dr. Matsumoto! Okay, I found it. A respected doctor working for the Tokugawa shogunate. Yeah, doctor serving the shogunate. Thank you. Shogunate? I'm not saying it. A military government run by the samurai. It refers to the Tokugawa shogunate. I'd never met him myself, but my father put a great deal of trust in the man. He had told me if I ran into any trouble in his He had told me that if I ran into any trouble in his absence, I was to contact Dr. Matsumoto. Unfortunately, Dr. Matsumoto was out on business and would not return for some time. Was I too hasty? Perhaps I should have waited. It is indeed rude to visit without warning, which is why I had sent a letter prior to my arrival. but it seems he had left before reading my letter. Perhaps I thought I should have waited for a reply before traveling to an unfamiliar city. But I can no longer spend time waiting idly for news. And I'm like, drooly! I'm sorry if there's gross mouth noises. I don't mean it. But I can no longer spend time waiting idly for news. Chizuru, the main character of the story, she travels to Kyoto in search of her father, and she consequently finds herself involved. Shush! Is something wrong, father? He paused for a moment and looked at me.
実はな、しばらくの間、京の都へ行くことになった。
Their mouths are really unsettling until you get used to it. But also, we've got voice acting, y'all. We do. Fucking with the volume on my mic. Sorry. Is it for business again? He left the house often during that period, sometimes for days at a time. How long will you be gone?
それはわからん。一月になるか、二月になるか。
Oh. There was no hiding my disappointment. Nonetheless, I wasn't a child anymore. I couldn't beg him not to go or some other foolishness. Yes, I'd be lonely, but I was much more worried for him. Please, father, be careful. They say that the city of Kyoto is dangerous. He only smiled and nodded.
安心しなさい。お前が心配しないように、京にいる間はできる限り手紙を書くよ。
Okay, you promise? Father kept his promise. A new letter arrived so often I scarcely had time to respond before another would arrive. He told me that he worried about me being home all by myself. Sorry, that's distracting as fuck. Then the letter stopped. A whole month passed with no word. Father. They say Kyoto is full of ronin, samurai who've left their master, been stripped of their privileges, or doesn't have a master to serve. So, ronin are basically like individual samurai that don't have somebody to work for, if that makes sense. It is not a safe place. Usually a samurai is paid by their house, but the clan serve it, the samurai serve, yes. Okay. Ronin who report to no house often rob people in order to make ends meet. They're nothing more than violent criminals who hide behind the image of the samurai. Such is the state of the city of Kyoto, the city of Ronin. Small wonder, then, that I worried for my father. My mind would concoct horrible possibilities, and I often found myself depressed and tense. First, I suppose I need to find a place to stay. I swear I can read. Lost in thought, I didn't notice nightfall descend. If I was honest with myself, I hadn't the faintest idea of how long searching for him would take. I'd brought a negligible sum of money with me, enough to last me a month if used wisely. I'm just gonna shout the words so that I don't make mistakes. Finding father in this window of time was a must. Otherwise, I would have to depend on Dr. Matsumoto returning in time, or else I'd be forced to return home without a word. Well, at any rate, I should try and be as frugal as possible. I lengthened my stride and set off on my path. Fortunately for me, men's clothing assisted with keeping a quicker pace than women's. Kyoto presented many dangers to a young girl, hoping to explore the city without direction. We dressed like a man. It's for safety. There's nothing LGBT about it. I'm just saying. Such success went to my head and led me to believe I could explore Kyoto as I pleased. But Kyoto is not a safe place. I should have remembered that. Instead, I somehow convinced myself that the city's hidden dangers didn't apply to me. I was about to discover otherwise. Hi! I spun around. In the street in front of me were 3 ronin. Can I help you? What is this, a Burger King? I did my best to keep my voice calm, reaching nonchalantly for my kodachi. It is a half, is a longer, short. It's a short katana. Okay, there you go. My father encouraged me to take swords lessons. I kept with them and I did rather well. I was confident enough in defending myself. However, perhaps my overconfidence in myself is what served the situation at hand to me. I'd messed up and let my guard down. My fault. There was a chance I could take them on, but there were 3 of them and 1 of me.
ガキのくせにいいもん持ってんじゃねえか。
Thank you! Only then did I realize they were far more interested in my sword than they were in me.
小僧には過ぎたもんだろ。
Pup?
よこせ。国のために俺たちが使ってやる。
I don't know why these people are given names and no faces. But the sword wasn't just some blade I'd picked up. It was a family heirloom spanning generations. There was no way I could give it to the Ronin. Would you take a family heirloom if you thought you were going to get into a sword fight? Like, obviously she's not thinking like that, but I'd be getting some, like, terrible, I don't know, some like, shitty sword somewhere else. Though I had a feeling they wouldn't understand. In such a situation, the best decision was undoubtedly to retreat. Genius. We're not fighting. We're not sticking around. She's out of there. I turned and ran as fast as my legs could.
あ、おい、待ちやがれ小僧。
Gosh, they sure don't give up easily, do they? I felt like I'd been running for quite a while, but I could still hear the Ronin cursing loudly. I ducked into an alley, flattening against the wall. Genius! After deciding they weren't too close, I crept farther into the alley. Someone left a couple sheets of wood leaning against one of the houses. A perfect hiding spot. What luck, I thought, kneeling down under them. Running and hiding. This girl likes to live. I appreciate it. This is my way to escape this mess. Huh? I was listening for sounds intently. A suspicious calm entered my mind. I'd expected to hear the Ronin yelling to each other, looking for me, but seconds turned to minutes. I heard nothing. I was about to sneak out and have a look when... Nice. What? My plan to investigate was immediately halted. Remaining silent and hidden was more important. See? This bitch is not trying to see what's going on. She's trying to live. Still.
やりやがったな。
Yeah.
くそ、なんで死なねえんだよ。ダメだ、こいつら刀が効かねえ。
It was then that true fear began to set in. There was something dangerous up there. Something quite possibly lethal. My imagination conjured up no shortage of gruesome theories. Sorry. Even so, I could feel an inch of curiosity. I wanted to know what was out there. Carefully, I peeked around the corner's edge. The cold reflection of moonlight upon a blade glared at me, and my eyes followed it to the arm that held it, clad in a coat of light blue. Had this person saved me? But no slower than it appeared, my hope vanished. How often does the enemy of my enemy, like, is my friend thing? How does that work out? I heard the Ronin stumbling to beg for his life. The person in the blue coat said nothing, just stepped forward, his sword raised. Yeah. Okay. A high screeching laugh cut the man's scream. Uh-huh. The knife fell through the air like a butcher's knife rather than a sword. No skill, just death. The screen turned wet, caught, and disappeared like air, leaving half-empty bellows. My eyes went wide. I just witnessed a murder! Any strength I'd received vanished quickly. My legs gave way and I crumbled to the ground. My eyes widened like busted shells. Somebody's having fun. He died with the first blow, but as I watched, the blades fell, carving lines into the corpse. The soft slip of a blade ground through flesh. The silent creep of blood across ground. I felt nothing from them but madness. Their only desire was raw, animalistic violence, whatever they were. It wasn't human. They were broken. Sorry, I forgot about that. I could feel my throat clenched tightly, and a warm, dark smell brushed against my face. I slowly recognized the coppery tang of blood. Yeah, I think in Twilight, they're like, how do you know what blood smells like? It smells like blood. It's gotta smell. An icy bolt of fear ran down my spine, crawling into my limbs and freezing me in place. I was terrified. I was so afraid. What was I going to do? What could I do? Point. You have to run, Chizuru. I forced my jaw open and drew a ragged breath. This was the only chance I'd get. I had to... My body, still numb with fear, was unresponsive. I lurched sideways against the stacked wood, and with a rough clatter, it collapsed. I would probably just sit where I was. I know you want to run from fucking this. They're just chilling, having a good time. Night with the boys, you know. The creatures turned, coats drenched in blood. Their eyes locked with mine and bore into me. Hideous grins split their inhuman faces, shaking with excitement at prey to slaughter. I had to run. I couldn't die yet, but my legs refused to move. Their hideous cackling laughter echoed. I was going to die. My body was frozen with terror. I couldn't even scream. This was it. This was the end. Ooh, those swords had colors. Interesting. Let's think about it. Well, I watched them raise their bloody swords, the moon glinting off the middle. Then there was a flash of light and the soft splash of blood. I could feel it warm and sticky. Oh, it got us. Gross. Bile began to rise in my throat, but before disgust took hold, I heard a voice. He did not say really, he said too bad. The words suggested disappointment, but the voice sounded happy. Who's this? As he spoke, the strange man smiled, almost as if he were enjoying himself. He laughed. The man called Saito sighed with the air of long-suffering companion and looked at me. Thanks. His tone was light, but it confirmed my fears. I may have escaped the schemes of the Ronin, but I was ensnared by something much darker. By the way, those, whatevers with the white hair, they had the same robes on, these blue and white ones. And also, the enemy of my enemy, there's 3 of them now, because the Ronin were the originals, those white-haired freaks were the second, and these guys were the third, so she's having a rough night. Huh. Then who was in charge of these 2? Guess. Their conversation led me to believe they were part of an organization. As I thought about it, I recalled hearing about men with blue coats. Ah! My thoughts were interrupted by a dark shape sliding into view. Oh. Me too! I swallowed hard. The moonlight shone off his smooth dark hair for reasons I couldn't fathom. In that moment, the light on his hair made me think of the wistfulness of flower petals. She thinks he's hot. It was almost as if the cherry trees were blooming out of season. Yeah, she thinks he's hot. Does it? The way he talks sounds kind of weird, and I don't like it. I don't know, maybe he's supposed to be like the one the writers favor the most, the one that's supposed to be with her. I don't know why he's getting such an introduction like this. His voice was cold and quiet like a blade of ice. Blue-white moonlight lit his slender face and shone from the blade pointed at my chest. But it wasn't the sword making my breath catch. He's so hot. Okay. It was his eyes. They were fierce and hard, but somewhere behind them, I could catch a glimpse of something else. There could be no doubt he was prepared to kill me, and yet he looked troubled. Not kindness, but perhaps mercy. Fuck. I nodded. There was no doubt he meant every word he said. He stared at me for a moment, then grimaced and put his sword away, sighing. We're stuck with them. What? I was too surprised to stop myself from speaking, and it quickly became apparent that I wasn't the only one.
あれいいんですか土方さんこの子さっきの見ちゃったんですよ
Yeah. As he spoke to the man called Hijikata, his eyes narrowed. The man called Hijikata from back at him.
いちいち余計なことを喋るんじゃねえよ。
That was a lot. Also, I forgot what I was gonna
そ
say.
の話を聞かせちまうと始末せざるを得なくなるだろうが。
Boil us? It was clear enough that what I'd seen was something they wanted to keep hidden. The more they said, the more I got it, and it was clear none of us wanted such a thing.
この子を生かしておいても厄介なことにしかならないと思いますけどね。
We're a witness. The way he looked at me made me feel as if he'd read my mind.
とにかく殺せばいいってもんじゃねえだろう。こいつの処分は帰ってから決めろ。
俺は副長の判断に賛成です。ここに長くとどまれば他の者に見つかるかもしれない。
Fucking again. Then he looked down at the creature he'd killed, as though he'd forgotten the whole ordeal.
こうも血に狂うとは、やはり実務に使える代物ではないようです。
頭の痛え話だ。
Something about talking. He peered down at the corpse, his face an emotionless mask. When he looked up at his companions, however, his eyes narrowed.
つうかお前ら、土方とか副長とか呼んでんじゃねえよ。セロ。
For real. Should you... Captain! Like, I don't know if we don't really have commanders anymore in my brain, but yeah. Why are you being like this?
へえ、伏せるも何もこの大服を着てる時点でバレバレだと思いますけど。
Fair. He was right. Even I had heard stories about a gang of cruel men in blue coats who cut people down in the streets, but I didn't know how to confront the dilemma of pretending I didn't see any of those horrors. My mind swirled through a pool of worries and thoughts, almost as if I was being drawn into their world. A world of sexy, sexy men. What are we gonna do about it? A world where there is nothing strange in carrying on a normal conversation in the dead of night with corpses for company. What the hell? Sorry if you can hear that crackling.
死体の処理はいかように、肉体的な異常は特に現れていないようですが。
Hijikata thought for a moment before he spoke.
羽織だけ脱がせとけ。あとは観察の方で何とかする。
Okay.
承知しました。
新選組の大使が切り殺されてるなんて僕たちにとっても一大事ですしね。
He gave a derisive bark of laughter.
あとはここにいたやつが黙ってりゃ世間も勝手に納得してくれるだろうよ。
He looked directly at me, and I got the distinct feeling his words weren't for his companions. It was common for people to be murdered in Kyoto. It was a dangerous city, after all. I knew that, of course. Well, we fucking forgot. But to see it happen, that was something else entirely. What is that from? That was something else entirely. That was something else entirely. I think it's from that movie, with Will Ferrell and the watch with the writer. I don't remember what it's called. I'm sorry. That was a huge, fun story. If death was such an easy thing in Kyoto, I thought, then the city itself must surely be mad.
ねえ、ところでさ、助けてあげたのにお礼の一つもないの？
Thanks. Huh? I didn't realize right away he was speaking to me. When I did, my eyes went wide. What do you mean you saved me? Well, I did have a point. Despite their threats, they saved my life. Can you imagine? It's like, yeah, you saved my life. Do I thank you or are you gonna kill me? Like, you don't get the thank you if you're gonna kill me. I stood up as steadily as I could manage. Brushed some dirt off my clothes and bowed. Thank you very much. Arigatou gozaimasu. I apologize for not thanking you earlier. There was so much going on. I was a little confused, and you threatened to kill me. I looked up at them tentatively. The man called Hajime also looked confused. His eyes were wide, and he had an expression I couldn't place. Surprise, and, I don't know what's up with his mouth. That's weird. And then the other one, look at him, he looks, like, exasperated. Like, annoyed. He just got to look as if he'd taken a bite of something sour. I sighed deeply before continuing. I know it seems weird to say that, but he told me I should say thanks, so it's more like an implication. Ugh, that word. Look at, oh god, I love that face, but it also scares the shit out of me. Freaked me out. I looked up. Saito and Hijikata both stared pointedly at anything but me, and the third man was shaking with laughter.
ごめん。 そうだよね。僕が言ったんだもんね。
He broke out in laughter again, so much so that he was forced to wipe a few tears from his eyes as he straightened up.
どういたしまして。僕は沖田総司と言います。礼儀正しい子は嫌いじゃないよ。
Kirai janai. It's like, I don't hate it. We're gonna have to remember their last names because this is Japan. Okita. Thank you for helping me. Hijikata is his last name. Not sure what else to do, I thought again.
君を助けてくれたのが斉藤はじめくん。それでこっちの偉そうなのが。
Does that mean that Saito is his last name and that's how we're gonna... Yeah, I think so. It's... I just wish they would started off with last names. Like, ease me into this shit. The one you should be thanking for saving you is Saito Hajime over here. And this bossy guy is...
わざわざ紹介してんじゃねえよ。
Hijikata Toshizo.
副長、お気持ちはわかりますが、まず移動を。
Yeah. Whatever mirth was inspired was gone. The man called Saito now spoke with quiet urgency. The man named Okita grabbed hold of my wrist, smiled, and led us down the street. We're holding hands. Just kidding. His grip was a touch too tight to be friendly, his fingers like iron cables around my arm. There was no question about my situation. I quickly picked up on the notion that if I were to run, I would be killed. Instantly. I mean, he said that already. My life was in the hand of these strange men. I set my jaw and stood up as straight as I could. My eyes crept up from the blood-stained coat and met Saito's gaze.
己のために最悪を想定し刺していいようには転ばない。
Damn! He was the one that was like showing us the most, not the most mercy, but second best. Saito said that he shouldn't kill us when Okita did. And then Hijikata was like, we don't just kill people. Even though they kind of just killed people. His words were like a dagger in my stomach. What was going to happen to me? Was I going to die? Yep, the game ends right here. As we walked through the bleak Kyoto night, I felt horror crawl its way up my spine once again. The cause of my horror, I can't say that. The cause of my horror wasn't the gruesome end that awaited me, but something else entirely. You know? I spoke with these men and watched them speak, standing next to a warm corpse soaked in blood. Stranger Than Fiction! That was the movie. That I had done such a thing terrified me in an altogether different way. Perhaps this is what it's like to go mad. We're not watching that again. We did it! We did it! That's the menu. Can I get to the menu, please? No. Chapter 1. We're gonna get our throat slit. Can I please? Okay, we're in a room. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.